call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Loa,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Betancourt,
Here.
Council Members Bishop,
Here.
Olson,
Here.
and Alarcon.
I know she's in the building, so I'm sure she'll be here momentarily. Let's see, Eric, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence, please?
Sure. Everybody please rise. Please place your right hand over your heart and begin. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. So item 3 was the pledge. Do we have a cute critter video tonight?
What happened to the critters? Was that it for the critters?
There was no sound or anything?
Madam Clerk, Ms. Alarcon has arrived.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Alarcon is here.
They played a video, but there was no sound. Are we waiting for them to cue it again?
I don't know.
Was there a video?
Yes, the technical, they're checking on the sound in the back.
Okay.
Sir, we can move forward with the observances if you'd like.
Let's go ahead and move the observances for the month of April, please.
The City of Palmdale would like to acknowledge the following observances for the month of April. Celebrate Diversity Month, Child Abuse Prevention Month, Distracted Driving Awareness Month, Fair Housing Month, Sexual Assault Awareness Month, Earth Day, and National Donate Life Month. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and have the public comment rules read.
Public comment rules. Public comment rules. Mayor,
Yes,
if we could go back up to the Housing Department update.
okay. That's 4.1, Ms. Reyes?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Sophia Reyes, Director of the Department of Housing. Palmdale Housing, what does this mean? Palmdale Housing, we have a staff of 8, and they are here today. Stand up, ladies. There you go. Thank you. Our mission is to develop and assist in implementing citywide affordable housing programs and projects, to encourage community engagement and develop strong neighborhoods. We are funded by the Housing Authority of the City of Palmdale and the Housing Authority as the successor housing agency for the former Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Palmdale. To achieve our goals, the department collaborates with various partners. Development of housing is not a short process. It may begin with a concept. Developers will meet with the housing staff to discuss and receive guidance of next steps. This may include consulting the municipal code, various plans, and planning about the site and other requirements. Funding may be another component, with a density bonus, affordable housing agreement, and/or a grant loan agreements. After development, housing monitors are development partners for compliance with these agreements for up to a period of 75 years. Housing also works with local nonprofit partners, including Victory Outreach and Advancing Communities Together. As part of the programs for smaller properties with transitional housing, duplex, or 4 units, for new construction or rehabilitation of units, these projects provide community outreach. Both organizations provide neighborhood events, inviting neighbors to barbecues, to come out and meet each other, including barbecues, back-to-school backpack giveaways, spring and fall gatherings. At the Arts Colony, Music and Kids during the summer program joins with the art gallery artists for music, for pizza, and for chalk drawing. The management of the Housing Authority properties and the housing staff have completed fair housing and CERT training to better serve our residents and especially to address the needs if a natural disaster may occur. The Housing Authority Boulder's mobile home parks and apartments are affordable housing based on funding and bond agreements. Neighborhood houses provide a place for our local nonprofits to provide services. The former redevelopment agency, the Housing Authority, and the city have issued many loans for development of affordable housing and programs for residents for rehabilitation and down payment assistance. The Housing Department monitors the loans as of June 30th for the City and Housing Authority. The loans totaled $34,422,946. The housing staff are working with RSG, a city consultant, who are implementing the rehabilitation housing programs for minor repairs and for accessibility. The city funds programs to assist our residents. HPRP assists with rent, security deposits, other appropriate costs to prevent loss of rental housing or to rehouse eligible households. This program is administered by Salvation Army. TBRA assists seniors whose housing cost is over 50% of their income and is administered by Valley Oasis. One of the down payment assistance programs is the Veterans Purchasing Assistance Loan for the Homes for Family Veteran Ownership Housing on Division. The Housing Department is developing an additional program to be submitted shortly for approval. In addition, Advancing Communities Together operated the winter shelter through March 31st. And that one is funded by LASA. Sorry. The Housing Division oversees the Space Rent Control Ordinance, which includes annual registration. If the individual parks are in compliance with the ordinance, they may receive approval for a permissive rent increase. And staff coordinates the annual meeting of the Mobile Home Rent Rental Review Board. 991 of the 1,121 spaces at 7 privately owned parks in Palmdale are currently under the rent control ordinance. Housing administers grants from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, the State of California Department of Housing and Community Development, the County of Los Angeles Homeless Initiative, and from the City of Palmdale to develop affordable housing, provide rental assistance, rehabilitation of single-family and rental housing under 5 units, fair housing services, fund operations for safes to provide services, and to purchase and rehabilitate a new site for safes. Mental Health America provides outreach services, case management, and the Resource Center for Veterans. CDBG also provides funding for ADA and infrastructure improvements, such as the curb, gutter, street, and sidewalk improvements on East Avenue Q12. CDBG COVID provided assistance for businesses and residents through the COVID years. In addition, county grants fund programs for assisting people who have or are experiencing homelessness, achieve a stability through outreach, interim housing, workforce development, and support services. The end result of these programs is to achieve the stability to secure permanent housing. the homelessness plan. The city updates its homelessness plan every 5 years. The goals for 2023 to 2027 plan are prevent episodes of homelessness, including individuals and families, assist homeless individuals and families by providing relevant and accurate information, creating a path for them out of homelessness, and also creates housing opportunities that meets their needs. Empower local service providers, community partners, and stakeholders to improve their response to individuals and families experiencing homelessness by working collectively with city support. Develop an approach to track city, local service providers, and community support group progress in preventing, reducing, and ending homelessness. To increase opportunities for them to create and maintain a sustainable lifestyle that includes affordable housing, education, and employment vocational training opportunities. We work with our community partners, including Valley Oasis, the lead of the coordinated entry system for adults, seniors, transitional age youth, and for domestic violence. As the lead, Valley Oasis works with small nonprofit service providers serving Palmdale and the Antelope Valley. As previously stated, Housing works with our community partners to meet the goals of this plan. We also work with all city departments: Community Economic Development, Public Works, Operations, Parks and Recreation, Public Safety and Administration, for Palmdale Housing Development and Programs, and for Palmdale to be a great place to call home. Thank you. Staff's available for questions.
Are there any questions by council? Okay. We have the video now?
Got to go back in there. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reyes. All right. So now, on the item where the city manager is asked whether there's any items to pull from the agenda, are there any items to pull from the agenda? Okay, I want to bring into question the manner in which item 8.1, that's the ordinance regarding repealing and rescinding section of the Palmdale Code on how the selection of mayor and mayor pro tem are made. I challenge 8.1 because I believe that Mr. Mendez called me on the morning, a few minutes before noon, actually, on Friday, stating that he had polled each of the council members, and he was told by each of the council members that they wanted to have this matter placed on the agenda. I believe that constitutes a Brown Act violation, because what he's doing is talking about a consensus that was reached in order to have this matter placed on the agenda. And if that is the case, under Government Code Section 54959, any member of a legislative body who attends a meeting of that legislative body where action is taken in violation of any provision of this chapter, and I'm asserting that that was a violation of the Brown Act, and where the member intends to deprive the public of information to which the member knows or has reason to know the public is entitled under this chapter, is guilty of a misdemeanor. So I believe that at least 2 other council members were approached by Mr. Mendez in the same manner, that he had polled the members of the council and that they had advised him to place this matter on the agenda. If that's the case, that's either a serial meeting or a daisy chain.
So under the Brown Act, that would not be considered a violation if the city manager can ask polling questions and say, do you want this, yes or no? If he does not tell the other council members what they have said, then it's not a Brown Act violation. He can ask yes or no. he got a majority of people who wanted the item on the agenda, and so it would be the city attorney's position that it was proper and it was not a
All right, you
Brown
apparently
Act.
did not listen to what I said. I told you that Mr. Mendez called me to say that he had polled all the other members of the council and that they each had separately agreed and that they had discussed with each other that they were in agreement that this matter should be placed on the council.
So, Mr. Mendez has just told me that no council member indicated to him that anyone had formed an agreement behind closed doors. This was simply just, do you want it, yes or no? And the other council members are sitting here. I think you can ask them if they talk to one another about it, which that would be a Brown Act violation, but based on what we have here, the statements from the city manager of individual communications that were not a serial meeting, that did not, he didn't ask anybody, oh, you know, Councilmember Betancourt told me this, and Councilmember Olson told me that, which would be improper, but that is not what occurred. You can ask, yes or no, do you want this, without telling anybody what anybody else has said. That's not a Brown Act violation.
Okay? All right, so let's question the council. Ms. Alarcon?
One, I find it incredibly inappropriate that we're doing this in public forum. If there was a question about the propriety of this being on the agenda, we could have had this discussion with the city attorney prior to us being put at this dais, but I secondarily don't appreciate being asked on the record exactly what transpired in that conversation, specifically because what you just said was that if we did have a conversation, we would be guilty of a misdemeanor. But to be clear, that conversation did not happen with me. I was simply asked the question, and he read the portion of the ordinance that would be added to the agenda. Are you okay with this being on the agenda? Yes or no?
Okay, Ms. Betancourt?
I'll just duplicate what Andrea said. We got a call, asked if this could be on the agenda. I said yes.
Okay. Did he discuss with you what the other council members had said?
No, he did not.
Okay. Mr. Olson?
No discussion of other council members, and I support this item on the agenda.
Okay, Mr. Bishop?
No discussion or agreement with other council members. However, I did agree to putting it on the agenda when talking with City Manager Sal Mendez.
Okay. Then the other item that I am questioning is the item that placed the city manager's disciplinary action on the agenda. And I question, first of all, do you have proof of service that she was served within at least 24 hours prior to?
Yes, I actually sent her the letter myself on Saturday, overnight mail, and it cost $100. And
Okay,
so she
and-
got it on Monday. And it was also sent to her by email on Saturday. So, and we did get a response from her.
Okay. Now, I was not included in a request that this matter be placed on the agenda for today. And one of the actions that we had taken on Thursday was that the matter that would be placed on the agenda would be the performance evaluation of the city attorney. So I understand that I believe on Friday at about 5 p.m., there was an original posting of the agenda. Then there was a subsequent posting of the agenda that I believe included the ordinance for the selection of the mayor. And then subsequently to that, there was a third posting involving adding the disciplinary action for Ms. Perez. How did all that happen and when?
So as you know, the city manager controls the agenda. The city attorney and council members don't set the agenda. However, if council members request that an item be added, the city manager can add it. That's what occurred in this instance. The city manager received requests from council members to put this item on the agenda, and so it went on the agenda.
Okay. All right. With that, then, so you're saying that both of these items were appropriately placed on the agenda? That's the
Correct,
opinion of the
yes.
city attorney?
Follow the normal procedure of going through the city manager, who has control under the duties in the municipal code to set the agenda.
Okay, then at this point, would you please, Madam Clerk, would you please read the public comment code of conduct and read the public participation statement?
Ladies and gentlemen, may I please have your attention? The meeting of the Palmdale City Council is now in order. A code of conduct will now be read, and we request that you comply with it to ensure the efficient administration of the meeting. Members of the public, it is your right to participate in today's City Council meeting, and the council encourages such participation. However, the right of the public to address the council must be balanced with the need to ensure that public comment does not interfere with the orderly course of the council's business. All are reminded to abide by the following rules. Speakers must cease speaking immediately when their time has ended. Public comment on agenda items must relate to the subject matter of that item. General public comment is limited to subjects within the jurisdiction of the council. Public comment does not include the right to engage in a dialogue with council members or staff. Please remain respectful of the forum and refrain from uttering, writing, or displaying profane, personal, threatening, derogatory, demeaning, or other abusive statements towards the council, any member thereof, staff, or any other person. Members of the audience should be respectful of the views expressed by speakers, staff, and council members, and may not excessively clap, cheer, whistle, or otherwise disrupt the orderly conduct of the meeting. Any person engaging in conduct that disrupts the meeting is subject to being removed from the council meeting. Finally, if you witness conduct or behavior by other members of the public that disrupts your ability to remain engaged or participate in this meeting, please notify city staff. Thank you for your cooperation. Now is the time for public participation on Section 6, which is the consent calendar, Section 7, appointment, Section 8, new business, and Section 12, closed session. I do have speaker cards in my possession. The first one, Michael Ross.
So can I just a point of order before?
saying one of the items, I'm sorry.
Just a
Okay.
point of order before we begin.
Sure.
Just a suggestion to my colleagues. I don't know if, Mayor, you'd be open to it and if the colleagues would also be open to it. But we've got some pretty significant items on our agenda tonight, specifically including who represents us in the city management position, who represents us as legal counsel, city attorney, and how leadership of this council is determined. I would like to suggest that we offer, or at least afford the opportunity for our public additional time to discuss these items. Maybe we can take the sections separately. We can do new business separately, so they can have 2 minutes to talk about the mayor's issue, and then we could take a closed session separately, so they can have additional minutes to talk about those items. But these are really weighty issues, and will lend to how we govern our city, and I think it's really important that we offer the listening public and those who are here the opportunity more than 2 minutes to comment on all of those things. Thank you.
Give me a moment, please. I believe that right now what's appropriate is to have public comment on the items, not including the new business item, which is the mayor's situation.
Madam
But
Clerk?
on the consent calendar and on item 12, which is the issue of the city attorney and the city manager. So right now, that would be the public comment on those items.
I think, just point of clarification, Madam Clerk, to be clear, on the agenda, it says that 2 minutes will be afforded for consent calendar, appointments, new business, and closed session. So
Exactly.
all 4 sections, and
Yes.
only 2 minutes afforded to each speaker.
Yes.
What I'm suggesting is that maybe we take these certain sections separately to afford the public an additional 2 minutes to speak on whether they like to speak on the selection of leadership for this council, as well as the closed session items.
Mayor?
So,
Well, is that a motion?
that is a motion, is so long as.
second.
Thank
Okay.
you.
By voice vote?
That's fine. That's fine. Mayor Loa?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bettencourt?
Yes?
Council members Bishop?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
And Alarcon?
Yes.
All right, and so currently, we're going to add additional time to the new business portion, which is 8.1. and to the closed session items, which are 12.1 and 12.2. And so at this moment, it would be public comments on the consent calendar, on the appointments, on those two items. And those will be 2 minutes. And then we will take public comment on new business, which is 12.1, which is the mayoral issue, and on the closed session.
Are you talking about 8.1?
Sorry?
Are you talking about 8.1?
8.1, but not quite yet. We're gonna have
no,
public
I just
comment on
wanna-
the consent calendar and the appointments. At this moment, that would be 2 minutes.
Now I need to rewrite everything. We
And
got
then
an
we're-
extra minute.
Doesn't make
Wow.
that complicated.
And then we'll move on to the new business, which is 8.1, and then we'll have public comment for the closed session, each one separately. Okay?
So, Mayor,
On the
currently,
on the consent calendar, on appointments, are there any speakers?
no, sir.
Okay, so then we will go to, come on up, Marcia.
Yes.
We are on the whole section 6.
This is concerning the
And
consent calendar and the
Appointment.
Appointment.
appointment?
That's
Oh,
it.
and the closed session?
No.
No.
Not the closed, okay, so please explain to me quickly how this agenda can be changed at this whim, and not let us know ahead of time that now we can speak on each one of these instead of one shot at the whole agenda, which is what we came here thinking that was going to happen. Now, all of a sudden, it's okay for you guys to change the agenda? What's going on? Now, we're not prepared to speak on all of these different issues to the extent that we are now given the opportunity. And I don't think that's the way you want to run the show. Thank
Okay.
you.
I believe that the spirit of the motion was to give an opportunity to speak on the items that are a very major concern to the public. And that would be the.
And so if I can just follow up, as I understand the reading of the Brown Act, it provides the chair and council members the discretion to extend, on occasion, additional public comment when it deems necessary. Madam City Attorney, is that correct?
Yeah, so the public comment portion of the Brown Act is already, by noticing it and having this meeting, we've already complied with it. How much time someone gets to speak is really at the discretion of the body. In some cities, it's 3 minutes, in some cities, it's 2. There's no magic speaking time, and so I think what you've done is proper. And if people want to talk, now you know that that's the procedure, and I would encourage you to submit a comment card.
All right, and the order that we're doing it in is because these are topics of great concern in the community. So I appreciate the motion, and we're going to conduct it that way. So if there's anyone else wishing to speak on the consent calendar and appointments. Okay, hearing none, then public comments on new business, which is 8.1, which is the changing of the ordinance from selection, that is to say, by, the mayor is currently selected by rotation. It just goes by council districts, and that is being proposed to change by majority of the city council to select the mayor and the mayor pro tem. Are there any public comments on that?
Yes, Mayor. We have Michael Ross.
There we go.
I'm in a cheerful mood tonight. Thank you. Now I got to write a couple more
So,
notes. I
Mr.
have an
Ross,
extra minute.
just, I'm over here.
What is it?
Can you hold on? Do we have to close out the consent calendar since we closed public comments?
Right, so I was just mentioning to the
go sit
council
back
member.
down.
Madam Clerk, would
Sorry.
you just please advise us as to the correct order of how we
I'm sorry,
address
Mike, I'm sorry.
and close out
Thank
sections
you.
of our agenda,
Let's-
please?
Let's close out the consent calendar and also the appointment. Then we will move forward to,
I'm going to make a motion to approve the
Okay.
consent calendar.
Second,
Okay, this is
wait,
Mr. Olson, Ms. Alarcon, first and second. Vote.
one moment, please. Start voting. Motion passes unanimously.
Very well, we'll move to
Seven.
7, which is appointments. I believe the Perla had selected a nominee. That was Mr. Payon, as a public member of the PRWA, which is the Palmdale Recycled Water Authority's appointment. And the question before us is whether we approve that appointment.
Based on the recommendation of the PWRA, I'll make the motion to approve Mr. Joe Palin for the appointment.
Second?
Mr. Bishop, and second by Mr. Olson. Call for the
Start voting,
question.
please.
Mr.
Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Payon, are you here? Yes. Okay, thank you very much for coming on that board. Congratulations. All right, now we'll go back to public comment on item 8.1.
Mr. Ross, come on up.
This is like
Today is April Fool's Day.
This is like a-
Point that out. Somebody said it's April Fool's Day.
good point.
Third time's a charm. Okay. So my name's Michael Ross. If you didn't already know, since this is the third time. On this item, I just want to say that I personally believe that this should not happen. I have a lot of personal beliefs in how we should have a mayor, how we should elect a mayor, and all that. I think the district thing is great. I actually think the more that we can get closer to our citizens, we should do that. And so I think the districts are great. I think the one thing that we are missing is a mayor at large that the people have elected. That's our voice, and it's also kind of a safety net for us in the whole schism of government. So I believe that we should probably consider that going forward. I don't think, this is such a heavy matter to me, that you are putting yourselves in a position, if I'm understanding this right, that you're going to, at the beginning of each year, you're going to elect the mayor amongst yourselves and the pro tem. If I understand that, okay? And then you also have a portion in there that says, at the pleasure of the city council, you can remove or replace the mayor and the mayor pro tem. It doesn't, in what I read, it doesn't say that there has to be a good reason or anything like that. It just says at your pleasure. I gotta tell you, it kind of leaves a bad kind of taste in my mouth because I don't think that you should be able to just remove somebody at your pleasure. I think you have to have a reason, especially if you all elected them and then now, oh no, we don't want them. I think it's only fair that you have a reason that you would remove somebody from an office that you elected them in. I do think, I see a pattern here that every time a city manager gets in trouble, we kind of implode as a city council. We went through the whole thing with J.J. Murphy, and now we're going through it again. And I remember the same thing happening. Is that 3 minutes? Oh, we only get 2. I thought we were getting 3. No?
Is it the pleasure of the council that they be allotted 3 minutes instead of 2?
Okay.
2 every section.
Was that right?
2 every section.
So I can babble for another minute? No?
I mean, the original thought behind my motion was 2 minutes for every section, since that was what we were originally allotting for the whole. But if the council wants to extend it to 3, I'm happy with that as well.
3 minutes.
I'll make the motion to extend to 3 minutes.
Second.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. I don't have a lot more. It's just that,
Wait, that was the first and a
sorry.
second, we gotta vote.
excuse me.
Mayor Loa. Mayor Pro Tem Bettencourt.
Yes.
Council members Bishop,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
And Alarcon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
In Hollywood, they have a term that says, hurry up and wait. That's what it feels like. No, it's all good. I think that, going back to the thing about the city manager and all that, I think what you're talking about and the ordinance that you're getting ready to pass, I agree with you 100%. That's a very heavy thing. What you're getting ready to do is completely change. And where's the citizen's voice in this? Where's our voice in it, other than getting up to be able to speak about it for a couple of minutes? I think there needs to be some more thought about that. I think some more time. You need to kind of let things settle down a little bit. When I heard all this news, the first thing that went through my mind is Rome's burning. Again, here we go. You know, and personally, for somebody who's invested themselves into our community, I'd really appreciate it if you would just put the brakes on. Take care of one thing at a time. Once you get done with the city manager's thing, then move on to the mayor thing and let us have an opportunity to really think about it and reason together and do a good job of governing our community.
Thank you.
Ms. Gallego.
I'm sorry to have to interject so many times, but Mr. Mayor, might I suggest one additional thing? it would, I think, behoove us if we had a staff report with the city attorney or with the city manager, acting city manager, to explain exactly what is being proposed so that people have clarity as they come up and offer their remarks. Well, I apologize, Mr. Ross, that was not done in advance, but can we just have a 1 minute, 2 minute staff report just to explain exactly what's being presented?
Yeah, and I think what you're alluding to is in the comments, it sounded like the impression was that like the mayor gets de-elected if they vote to cancel the mayor. And that's not how it works. People who get elected are they'll still stay there. Right now, Palmdale has a rotating mayor schedule by ordinance where it just kind of follows in a sequential process. And so what this ordinance would do would allow the city council to essentially pick who is their mayor. But it doesn't change who's elected, it's the same people, it's just they get to pick who the mayor is as opposed to following this sequential process. Okay.
This is adopted this evening, then it would take place 30 days from now, and that could be in May, at the May meeting, then there would be an election by majority of the city council for the mayor pro tem.
Correct. If I think, because the way the ordinance is written, it says at the first of the year. And so I think a motion would have to be made to put it back on to change the mayor. I don't know, it doesn't seem that we can just, once the ordinance passes, it doesn't say that a new mayor is automatically elected. I think the council would have to make that decision either at a meeting or, I guess, through adding the agenda item through the city manager. If a majority of council members say they want it, we could put the ordinance on. But it doesn't just automatically, we're gonna have an election because you passed the ordinance.
Right, so there
Council
are-
would have to do something.
Just a
It's
second, Ms. Alarcon.
It's a two-step process, so what's happening tonight is the introduction of the ordinance, then there's a second reading, and that takes place 30 days after the introduction of the ordinance. If and when that ordinance is adopted, then it would be at the council's pleasure to put the matter on the agenda at any given time. So it's a two-step process, just to be clear. So nothing's going to happen in terms of an election, unless we want it to happen. Nothing will happen at the meeting in May for the council to elect or remove a mayor or a mayor pro tem.
Excuse
Okay,
me.
very good. With all of that, then let's go back to,
Just to clarify, because the Palmdale has a charter, and so the ordinance does take effect today if you pass it. It is a two-step process here, but the introduction and adoption occurs today. The ordinance takes effect in 30 days, but you would still, the last part of what you said is correct. You would have to do something. It's not all of a sudden we have a new mayor. It would have to come
right,
back.
there would have to be a motion set or an agenda item set to then have it, the majority of the council select the mayor pro tem under this ordinance. Okay, with that clarification then, okay.
If I may.
Mr. Ross, just come up for a few seconds.
But there's also a part, if I understand, right after that, is that the removal part is the part I was talking about, where it says, at the pleasure of the city council, they may remove the mayor or the mayor pro tem. And there's nothing on that says why. It just says at their pleasure, and that's my point of umbrage that I don't think that is appropriate.
Okay, thank
That's
you
it.
very much, Mr. Ross. Okay,
So,
that's.
did everyone else get that? Or is-
Yeah,
all
so
right.
again, clarity, what the draft ordinance that is on our agenda calls for is a simple majority without good cause, any cause, as you've noted, would be sufficient enough to remove the sitting mayor or the sitting mayor pro tem from their then existing position.
Okay, all right. We're going to continue with the comments. Who's next?
We have Rich Gallego.
Hello. So there's still some confusion here. The two parts that I objected to when I read the agenda packet were, first, the fact that it seemed from my reading of it that the council could remove a mayor or mayor pro tem without showing cause. I don't like any part of that. Traditionally, for us to remove somebody who's an elected official, the founders were pretty smart. They made it so that you couldn't just make capricious decisions, right? You're supposed to have to go through something and have a good reason to do it. So I don't like that part. The other part is to have the council have the power to elect the next mayor. When I've got to believe that you guys know, you're on social media, I'm sure that you see, ever since we went to this rotating mayor system, people who never come to council meetings, and that's on them, and believe me, I tell them that all the time, but they've been livid about the fact that the people of Palmdale no longer, in their opinion, have a voice as to who gets to be the mayor. So that the idea that you would then say, all right, we're not going to do it the way we've done this rotating thing, we're going to switch it back, and the council's going to elect it. That's a staggering degree of tone deafness, if you ask me. Now, I believe you guys want to do good for the city. I don't question your motivations. But the way you're doing this, it's just not acceptable. And if you think that the people of Palmdale are going to be okay with this, you haven't been paying attention. You go on social media today, just the part that was put on about this meeting and what's being spoken about, the things that people are saying about this body are atrocious. Now, I've had conversations with all of you. I know that a lot of the things that are being said are not true, but the people you represent, a lot of them think the entire body is corrupt. I've had people say, well, that's just Rex pulling Rex's puppet strings, and Rex's puppets are going to put Rex's next choice in. If that's what you want the people you represent to think, continue down this path. But I think at the very least, echoing what Mike said, this should be tabled and rewritten so that you don't just remove somebody summarily without showing cause. And the vote needs to go to the people. And if that's a charter amendment, then so be it. But this, what you're talking about, it's not sufficient. Thank you.
Next speaker.
We have Angela Allen. Angela Allen.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As a representative for Assemblyman Tom Lackey, I wish to express his position on how the mayor of Palmdale should be elected versus selected. Assemblyman Lackey was surprised at the previous actions of the Palmdale City Council as they, in an autocratic fashion, decided to rob the registered voters of the city of Palmdale of their democratic right to select their mayor. Most city residents are unaware that that right was stripped of them. I strongly suggest the current city council at the very least delay this decision. It is my opinion the registered voters of Palmdale should choose their mayor. Although the position is similar in governance evaluation responsibility, its demand to lead the city and the council is different. Please restore the right of the Palmdale registered voters to select their mayor, the person they elect as mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hugo Vargas.
Mr. Vargas.
Good evening. I'm not very educated in all these legal terms, but one thing I do know, we were laughing stock of the entire Southern California when I said we chose our mayor with a ping pong ball. Are you kidding? I said, no, that's the way they decided. Now we got there and we agreed to it. Laura was our mayor at that time, and Mr. Austin Bishop became the mayor, okay. And now, rightfully so, is Mr. Richard Loa, and he's doing a great job, in my opinion. And all of a sudden, we're getting all these rumors about somebody's ganging up on him. I said, wait a minute, we're City of Palmdale, we're very civilized people. We can put this matter to rest by talking about it openly. So what I'm saying is, under no circumstances, absolute concrete, Richard Loa is not going to be removed. He's going to serve his term in 1 year, just like we all agreed with this ping pong ball thing. Now, if you want to change it for the next year, that's a different story. I really appreciate it that, please, because there's a rumor going on that somebody's ganging up on somebody, and I don't like mafia mentality. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
We have no more speaker cards on this item.
Ms. Ross.
Thank you. Hi, Carol Ross.
Everyone wishing to speak will line up, and then just give your name when you come to the dais. 3 minutes each.
Great. So I agree. I was very disturbed to see that this was on the agenda because for the last couple of years, we have been very grieved that we have not been able to vote for a mayor. So if we are saying we're going to change the way we do this, it felt like a real stab as a citizen to say, hey, we've been okay with it as we all came up here and took our turns, but now we want to change it, but we're not giving the vote to the people. That is really disconcerting. And I don't know why or what's going on. I'm not even going to care about that or get into it. I'm just talking from the perspective of being a citizen here and wanting to be able to vote for my mayor. So it doesn't look good. This doesn't come across. This isn't a very good look for our city council. What it comes across is, I want to be mayor. No, I want to be mayor. No, I want to be mayor. That's what it comes across as, okay? That looks very childish, and why we are not either sticking to what we had or we're giving the people the right to vote on it. But I can't, it is hurtful. It is actually hurtful to look at this and think that you guys are going to decide when basically our voice was ignored for the last couple of years when we've been asking that we would be able to vote on it. If you can write up an ordinance to change it the way that you want it to go, why for the last couple of years could you not write up an ordinance for us to be able to have been able to vote for our mayor the way we were asking? So that's my view on that. I really hope you don't push this through. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Javier Flores. As a representative of AB LULAC, we formed a coalition, ALVA, the Alianza Latina del Valle de Antilope, and we've done that every 10 years. Whenever the census takes place and then redistricting happens. So we're very much knowledgeable or informed about why it is that we're not voting for the mayor in an at-large election anymore. And the reason for that is if you had done that this last session, you would have gotten sued and you would have lost again. The first time you got sued, you lost over $7 million for fighting the CVRA, districts by election. Now, Freedom Coalition wants you to believe that the majority of the city voters want to vote for their mayor. I suspect they'd be happy with you not quibbing about who the mayor is going to be next, and instead do it in a very dignified way. I think that's what we're asking for, and they say they're concerned about representation of all the city residents or voters. But if each one of you got the opportunity to be mayor, the city, all its voters would actually get the representation they want. They'd be represented, every district would be represented at least once. But I remind you, because there's a lot of talk about going back to an large election for the mayor. And tread lightly. You do that, we'll sue the heck out of you, and we'll win. You know that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Is that Brett?
State your name, please.
Hi, I'm Chuck Murphy, and, Mr. Mayor, thank you, council, for giving me a moment. I just sat here and just got confused a little bit, listening to all of what was just going on. The first thing that kind of hit me was this concept of the mayor being pushed out. And something to do with, I thought all this Lancaster stuff was behind us, and that we were actually starting to move forward together and working together. And I'm dead against anything that's going to push somebody out. I have to stop and think a little bit about what I was listening to, because what was happening is it sounds like you guys want to pick the mayor, but it seems like something that could just go around in circles. And I've been here 8 years. I could be here another 8 years, and I'd be talking to you again, just because you guys would. When are we going to? Would new blood come into this whole mess? I mean, I hate to call it a mess, but I'm just curious. When would the new blood, the new council people come in, if we were to not give that opportunity? Because it seems like if you guys are just kind of electing each other, which, again, I love y'all, so I'm not here to judge that. I'm trying to understand what you're trying to achieve. And again, I'm just flat out against anybody pushing anybody out. And as far as, and that also goes for whatever's going on with our city mayor. If I just don't want any of this Lancaster politics getting into Palmdale again. Or maybe it's always been there and I've been asleep at the wheel. I don't know. But I sure would like to see things get I think you guys are brilliant. You have the, I've talked to all of you. You have the ability and the desire to do anything you want to achieve. So let's pull it together and do what you can do. Do what you know how to do. Because I know you all have it. We don't have any dummies up here. Thank
Thanks, sir. Next speaker?
Hello. I'm not sure how many of you guys know me. My name is Aubrey McPherson. I'm actually a Lancaster resident. I actually ran for mayor of Lancaster in 2020. The reason I'm actually here tonight is because of your agenda item that you guys have placed. So as many of you may know, currently right now, our Lancaster mayor is currently going through the process of a recall. We've already started that process. And the biggest reason why we started that process is because of the corruption that we feel is plaguing our city. Now, you guys being our neighbors, and like I said before, some of you may know me, some of you may not. I may be more popular online, I'm not quite sure, right? But the reason that I am here tonight, though, is because the last thing that any one of us in Lancaster want is for somebody to be ruled by a minority group rather than ruled by the majority that is sitting here within this room today, which are your citizens. Each of you guys represent your districts accordingly. And you represent them in such a manner in which they're expecting you to do your job. You know, if you guys are so concerned about losing your seats, you should be, because term limits should be implemented in every aspect of government. Another thing that I would also advocate for is that you guys have some type of efficiency department or some type of oversight committee that ensures that you guys are not accepting funds from our mayor, that ensures that you guys are politically managing your funds adequately. And I would encourage you guys as a local government to do those things. Just as we see with Doge, I would hope that you guys would always come on the up and up with all of your financial doings as well. But the one thing that I would encourage you is that anyone sitting on this board tonight, if you are or currently are, in previous years have accepted money from our Express, so you start denying his donations. Because what I can tell you now is that off of the way that you have this bill proposed, you are denying the voice of your residents. You are denying the voice of your people. And they need you more than ever right now. So if you guys can't decide how you guys want to manage, then I would implement that you set term limits for a mayor, you would set term limits for your city council members. That way you can help your residents start seeing new blood come in, and that you also ensure that your city is thriving and continuing to thrive as it continues to move forward. So anyways, I appreciate your time, and I really do wish you guys all the best in making this decision.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Marcia. You sit here before us, not one better than the other, not one higher ranked than the other. Each one of you assigned to one district, and with that district comes one vote. You may think that your voice can speak louder than the others, that one moment in the center chair makes you more of a shining star than the others, but that's not the case. With the elimination of our elected mayor due to a lawsuit, running our city became the responsibility of the 5 district puzzle pieces that make up our council. There can only be one reason that this council would want to control who sits in the center chair by a vote that can be manipulated to one's advantage. It's their belief or desire to be able to align the city of Palmdale with those outside entities that, in the long run, would like to influence our city's path. We have seen so much in today's politics, politicians aligning themselves to better themselves above those who they were elected to serve. The rotation system the council is using allows each district to see their elected council member center stage at meetings and ribbon cuttings. Leave the present rotation system in place. It works and it's fair. Years ago, when we had a mayor, there was a situation that came up concerning one of our council members that was due to a casual rotation policy that council member was to move into the pro tem position. Well, at that meeting, when she was to move into that position, the mayor and 2 of our council members took it upon themselves to vote in that just 3-2 majority, that all that was required, to make sure that she didn't get in that seat, because we were going to have, sorry to say, guys, the old boys club, and it was very prevalent. So right now, what I see we're looking at is going down that same path. We're looking at a way that a few people, 3 out of 5, can decide who's going to set the center seat, sit in it, go out into the public, and give their idea of how Palmdale should grow. The rotation should be the only way to do it. It's only fair. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Vicky Ventura, and I am a resident of Palmdale. I am here to let you know that I am very proud to be a Palmdalian. As you know, my husband and I, we have our business in Palmdale. We do our community events in Palmdale because we love Palmdale. And I truly believe that every single one of you brings something to the table. Every single one of you is a leader. And we all voted you in. So I would ask you that you would keep the rotation going. At first, I was totally against it because I felt like you had taken the voice of the residents, but I've seen it. I've seen Councilmember Austin Bishop be a mayor, and I loved it. You know, I've seen you, Mr. Richard Loa, you're our mayor, and I enjoy it. So I think that because every single one of you brings something to the table, that we should keep it. I truly believe that, you know, we got so much going on right now that maybe you should table this at this time and look at it later at a later time so that we could continue to move Palmdale forward. I love my city. I was with my husband today in Santa Clarita, and I almost cried seeing all the streets beautiful, clean, people walking, enjoying themselves. Why can't we have that? Why can't we put our own agendas aside and work together to make Palmdale a beautiful city where we could call it a place to call home, where we could have affordable housing, the best healthcare, the best roads without those potholes? We could do it, but we have to put our agendas aside and come together and work together. So I implore and I urge you to come together and work together as a team. You're all leaders, and we could do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on the matter of 8.1, the mayoral selection? All right, we're still in public comment, so now persons wishing to speak on items 12.1 and 12.2. The public comment goes for all of the matters at one time. So anyone wishing to speak on the closed session matters, which are items 12.1, that is the evaluation of the city attorney, and 12.2, which is the discipline, dismissal, and release of the city manager. Anyone
So,
wishing to speak
again,
on those two items?
Point of order.
Objection,
In
ma'am?
the same way that we handled consent calendar and we closed out those sections is the same way that we should close out the new business component. There's one item on our new business. We
Okay,
heard
ma'am.
public comment specific to new business. And so I think it's appropriate
Eller?
if we move directly into
Okay,
council discussion, close out new business, and then we move
All
to
right.
other items.
That's a motion, I'll second.
That's a motion.
Call for the question.
Mayor Loa,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Bettencourt,
Yes.
Council Members Bishop,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
and Alarcon.
Yes.
Okay,
Motion
fine.
passes.
In that event, then we will begin the discussion on item 8.1. Is there a presentation by staff?
If I can go ahead and read the ordinance into the
Okay.
record. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palmdale, California, a chartered city, repealing and rescinding Section 2.08.010 of Title II of the Palmdale Municipal Code and adopting a new Section 2.08.010 of Title II of the Palmdale Municipal Code, establishing the annual selection of mayor and mayor pro tem by the majority vote of the entire council.
Very good. So I have it here, the staff reference would be the Assistant City Attorney Halfman. Do you have a report to make?
So I kind of already said it. This is an ordinance that changes the rotation schedule to a mayor that is elected at the pleasure of the city council. The election will take place on the first of the year unless otherwise brought back to, on an agenda at the motion of the council or adding it to the agenda.
Okay.
May I say something, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I just wanted to speak on behalf of this item. I know it's very important, and I know it's the way local charter cities operate is very confusing and very unusual from traditional standards we've seen on television movies. But this is more of the way that charter cities like ours are operating these days. So I'm supporting this item because I genuinely believe that this ordinance is essential for enhancing the functionality of the city of Palmdale and for adding an extra layer of accountability to the mayor's role. I would not be supporting this item if I did not truly believe it's in the best interest of the city. While mayor serves primarily in a ceremonial capacity according to our city charter, the position also carries significant responsibility. One of our key roles as council members is to establish the policies and procedures that will advance the city's goals, fostering cooperation and collaboration among all council members. Many other major cities, including Santa Clarita, Burbank, Bell Gardens, Desert Hot Springs, Claremont, West Covina, Bradbury, Glendale, Santa Maria, and the list goes on, have adopted similar policies. Even Ms. Ventura herself spoke about how Santa Clarita is such an awesome city. However, they've been under the same process for almost 25 or 30 years. They have been choosing who serves as their mayor and mayor pro tem since the early 2000s. It's a common practice for governing boards to select the most qualified individuals to serve as chair and vice chair, a practice that has been seen in numerous government agencies and businesses across the country. That's why I'm supporting this.
Okay, I'd like to ask a question of the city attorney. If I'd like to bring an alternate motion, which would be as follows, amending this particular section, that the matter of determining the mayor of the city of Palmdale shall be by election of the voters of the city of Palmdale. That would be, the 5 districts would remain intact, and that one at-large mayor would be selected. In the event of a tie, the mayor would have a tie-breaking vote. I'd like to make that motion instead of what's being proposed here.
Right, but okay, so we have issues with the California Voting Rights Act, and there's a reason why the public no longer elects the mayor at a general election.
That wasn't the judgment, ma'am. The judgment was that the mayor would be continuing to be elected by the people. Then at a subsequent, as Mr. Flores had pointed out, there was an issue as to whether the districts that were adopted by the city council were being challenged by the plaintiffs in that particular case. And the city council decided to use this method of selecting the mayor first, which was done, has been pointed out, by a selection of a ping pong ball, which was Ms. Betancourt's, she was selected that way. Then Mr. Bishop continued, and then I have been the third one. So it was not part of the judgment. The judgment said that the mayor should be elected by the city council, and the 4 districts that existed at that time would continue to exist. Then when we adopted the maps, I believe in 2022, after the census was taken in 2020, there was some discussion, and we were notified that the plaintiffs in the case would object to the council districts that were drawn, and the solution that was reached by the council at that time was to go to the rotating mayor. So you're incorrect about the Voting Rights Act as far as the judgment by the court is concerned that had jurisdiction over this case.
I wasn't talking about this Palmdale specifically. I was talking about the Voting Rights Act in general. That is why most cities no longer have an at-large election for their mayor. And so what I was understanding as what you were articulating that you would like the ordinance to do would be to change it back to something like that. And what I would say, instead of doing that, because I think if you want to do that, that we should look at it to make sure that we're in compliance with the Voting Rights Act and the districts. And if you would like to make that motion, I would say, don't pass this ordinance, and then let's look at what you've brought up as a different mechanism to sort this whole out. But I would be cautious to just pass it right now without looking at anything.
May I ask a question?
Yes, of course, Ms. Alarcon.
So for clarity on what you are proposing, if I heard you correctly, you said that you'd like to revert back to 4 districts, and if
No,
there's a
I
tie.
did not. No,
Well,
ma'am.
you said if there's a
5.
tie.
5
If
districts.
there's a tie, the mayor then
There would be 5
decides.
districts, and then the mayor would be elected at large by all the people of the city of Palmdale. And in the event, because that would be a 6-member council, in the event of a tie, 3-3, then the mayor would have the
Okay.
tie-breaking vote.
So you're suggesting adding an entire seat to this council?
At least 1 seat, yes. Alternatively, which I think is probably not as appropriate, would be to have the mayor and the mayor pro tem elected by the people. And so there would be 5 districts plus mayor pro tem and a mayor that would be elected by the people at large. So that would be an alternative approach. And the city attorney is suggesting that perhaps what we should do is table this particular item so we can look at it further. I would move.
Yeah, and thank you, Councilmember Alarcon, for clarifying. I understand what you said now. That probably could be something that we could work out, but I would encourage not to just make a motion and amend it orally, that we would bring it back and actually look at it, rewrite the code, and set it up so that everything is good without just making a knee-jerk reaction with an amendment and trying to pass it this way without looking at it.
All right, I'd like to move that we table this item so we can have further consideration of the entire issue. May I have a second, please? Okay, there's no second to my motion. We'll
May I say
proceed.
something about this now?
Sure, of course, Mr. Olson.
Thank you. So, as Mr. Lackey and others in the audience know, I have advocated for bringing back the directly elected mayor. In fact, early last year, I asked the city manager to bring back the analysis of what it would take to get back to a directly elected mayor. What are our options from this body? That never came my way. I said it from the dais, and it went into the void. It never came back, and I don't know why. It could be because there's no consensus from this council. So when that item is presented, I will support that wholeheartedly. I've always believed that the city needed a directly elected mayor, that I know other cities do it a different way, but those cities are built out, and we've got growth to do, and we need a leader at this position, at the helm, to give direction to staff instead of the other way around. So I support that. When or if that comes back, I've asked for it. I'll ask for it again. If we can get an analysis on what it takes to do that, I'd be very much grateful.
Okay, Mr. Olson, as I understand you, then what you're saying is we would proceed with adopting this ordinance, perhaps, and if it's adopted, then at a later time, we could change it again so that we could have an election by the people of the mayor.
Sure, yes.
Is that what you're
Yes.
proposing? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Well, can I finish?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought you
Sorry.
were done. I'm
I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
As for this particular 8.1, which we're here today to talk about, so that, yes, in the future I will support. But for right now, I've thought about this a lot. Because in a rotation, I'm next. So to vote for this, I would be giving up my guaranteed spot at mayor. For the better of this city, for the sake of our residents and everybody else, I'm totally willing to do that. Because if I serve as mayor of this body, I want it to be because I earned it, because I built trust, because I showed to my colleagues that I have ideas, ambitions, and drive, and we are accomplishing. I don't want it just because I was next. I want it because I earned it with my colleagues. So that's why I intend to support this.
Unless the ordinance is adopted tonight, it comes into effect in 30 days, which would be May. And if you were nominated by the council and you were voted in by 3 members, you would accept that mayorship, wouldn't you?
Well,
That is to say, in May, if this came up in May, or June, or July, or August, or December, if there
I
was a
am
motion
saying-
to make you mayor and you had 3 votes, you would become mayor, right?
I support this. If, we're confusing things, right? Because this ordinance, yes, we are. Let me explain. Because there's an assumption. There's an assumption that in 30 days, we're going to bring forward an ordinance to remove Mayor Loa. I've never talked to anybody about that. I've never agreed to that. I like the ability to have the tools to hold each other accountable, but I don't. I've never said that I want to support an ordinance coming back. I haven't asked for that. That hasn't been talked about. I think it's an assumption that people are making. For me, I like the ability for us to have the tools to deal with that if we have a rogue mayor. If somebody's doing something that you guys don't like, what recourse do we have? And it's not a character assassination on you, sir. You should be able to remove me if I've lost the trust and confidence of this entire body.
Okay, Ms. Alarcon?
You can go first.
Go ahead, Ms. Betancourt.
Before I sort of opine on where exactly I stand, because I think a lot has been said, I think I just need a little bit of additional clarity. So in my reading of the draft ordinance as presented, the paragraph that is incorporated in this draft ordinance, that would completely repeal and replace the existing 2.08.010, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I asked that question for the record and for my colleagues. And again, I do this in public forum because I don't want to violate the Brown Act and because I'd like to have sort of a public dialogue and discussion about these kinds of details specific to these very, very important ordinances. So what's being presented does not include language that already exists, which is quite concerning to me. I will read the sentence that I'm discussing. Notwithstanding the foregoing, no electoral district in the city shall have a representative serve twice within a 5-year period. So that sentence is in our existing code, and that's intended so that we don't have like one mayor just continue forever, and excluding the opportunity for others to serve in that position. That sentence and that language is not incorporated into what's being presented to us today. So if we were to move forward with this, I think I'd like to at least have the council consider or hear their feedback on whether or not we can make a friendly amendment to this to incorporate that provision into what's being proposed. But generally speaking, nobody we inherited as a council the 5-district position. I'm very thankful for it. In fact, my district was created as a result of the voting rights litigation. And now the people on the east side that I represent have a voice on this council. So I'm never going to do anything to undermine that. But when we inherited this process, we selected Council District 3 as the initiating rotation. It was supposed to be 3, then it was supposed to be 4, and then it was supposed to be 5. Somewhere in between time, there was a subsequent ordinance that was presented by this council that switched that rotation. And so after 3, the ordinance was presented to move it back to 1 and 2, and then skip over 3, and then go to 4, and then go to 5. I think that has created some confusion in the process. I agree that sequential rotation is probably the most equitable way of doing that. We sort of, I think, the going back to the 1-2, I think that jumped over Councilmember Olson's opportunity to serve immediately following Councilmember Betancourt. So I think in the past 2 years, we've had difficulty in managing the mayoral selection. So I'm curious and concerned about equity. Because historically, my district has been left out of these opportunities. And so I want to make sure that there's equity in the ability to serve in a leadership position in the city. So I'm just curious to hear if the council is willing to consider a friendly amendment to incorporate a provision or this exact sentence if we need to, notwithstanding the foregoing, no electoral district in the city shall have a representative serve twice within a 5-year period. Thoughts?
So you would, okay, well, first of all, we
I
haven't
just want to hear
had,
thoughts first.
we haven't had a motion yet, but Mr. Olson, you wanted to say something? I thought I heard you moving around there.
No.
Okay, anyone else wishing to speak? At this point, what's that?
Yeah, I mean, if I could, I don't know,
Well,
colleagues.
so far, we haven't had the motion to introduce the ordinance.
Yeah,
What?
I guess I'll offer my thoughts then. Well, I think you're going to make me be the mayor with that. Because they have already served, and then they would be ineligible, and then that's either, it would be
I see
that'd
nothing
be
wrong with
essentially
that,
the
by the
same,
way.
right?
I see nothing wrong with that, by
Ms.
the way.
Alarcon, hold on.
But it would essentially be the same, right? Right, because the rotation will continue, so how about an amendment to the amendment? How about we will try to honor the spirit of the rotation?
So here's the reason why I support sort of incorporating this.
Ms.
And
Alarcon,
yes,
give me a second, give me a second.
Mr. Lowe,
Give me a
please
sec-
just allow us to have
Give
some
me a second.
discourse
I
here.
believe that Mr. Bishop wishes to speak.
Oh, no, I was actually enjoying what they're working out.
At this moment, we don't have a motion to introduce the ordinance.
We're having discourse and dialogue so that we can formulate a motion. So if I could please just sort of have an exchange with my colleagues on this council, I'd appreciate it.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Incorporating that one sentence, one ensures equity over the long term. Ordinances are not to be, to be fiddled with, every year, every cycle. And so over the course of the long term, whether I'm here in a year and a half or 2 years, or if I'm here for 20 years, I want to make sure that there is sort of equity all the way through the governance of the city. But yes, because the 3 would be precluded because they've already served, it would go back to what it was supposed to be originally. It would go back to 4, and then it would go to 5, and then it would go back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which was the original, what was adopted after 3. It would have been to 4, and then it would have been to 5. That's what we originally set forth in the ordinance. That's what we inherited. And so, Councilmember Olson, I think you serve the city well as mayor. So if that's the course of things, if that's the council's desire, I see nothing wrong with you serving as mayor as a result of incorporating that one sentence into this. But it's less about you and more about the propriety of this ordinance over the long term, ensuring that there's equity and every council district gets the opportunity to serve as mayor within a 5-year cycle.
I like the idea of that. I like trying to keep the spirit of the rotation in order. I've seen other cities do that. If we put it at 5 years, it kind of doesn't seem like it changes anything now, because it would make it difficult for anyone. It kind of just seems like it cancels out what we're doing here.
I was thinking of a possible way to incorporate this. It could say something along the lines of no mayor or mayor pro tem shall be the same within the past 3 years. I mean, you could fiddle with it however you want, but something along the lines of the same person won't be elected twice.
You can't serve back to back.
Right, something
Yeah,
like that, so you don't
nothing
just
like-
have like one person forever. I
Right.
understand that. That
Yeah,
makes
we want
sense.
fairness and equity, but we also want, responsibility and the ability to take action and be able to make adjustments.
Okay, that's wonderful to have all this discussion, but at this juncture, we do not have a motion or a second to introduce ordinance number 1655.
Discussion is important, sir. I don't mean, I just feel like you're cutting us off
I'm
because we're
just-
not done yet.
Okay, wait a minute.
This is a really important issue.
Wait a minute, Ms. Alarcon. What I have here is, we had the ordinance read, and at this point, I believe that a motion and a second to introduce the ordinance should be made.
Well, I'll go ahead and make a motion to introduce the ordinance, and then I'll make the adjustment to it to say that the mayor and mayor pro tem cannot serve back-to-back terms.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, and I know that more discussion is needed, so,
I'll do a roll call on the introduction of the ordinance.
very good, let's go do that.
Mayor Loa,
Yes. I'm sorry,
Mayor-
wait a minute.
Mayor
No.
Pro Tem Bettencourt.
I'm sorry, my vote is no. I'm sorry.
The
Okay.
introduction of the ordinance?
This is just the introduction to the ordinance.
Right, okay, well, I'm
Okay,
voting
Mayor
no on
Loa,
it.
no, okay. Mayor Bettencourt.
Mayor Pro Tem Bettencourt.
I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Bettencourt.
Thank you, but no. I've already done that. Yes.
Councilmember Bishop,
Yes.
Councilmember Olson,
Yes.
and Councilmember Alarcon.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, very good. So then we've already had the staff report. And now it would be appropriate to do a motion and a second to adopt the ordinance, but I understand there's going to be some amendment to it. And so perhaps we can have that written up so that the council will know what it is that we're adopting.
Councilmember Bishop, do you want to reiterate what the
Yes.
motion is so everybody's clear?
Yes, I saw Alex was, I wasn't sure if she was going to say something, but yes, I'll go ahead and move to approve the ordinance number 1655 with the adjustment that the mayor and mayor pro tem cannot serve back-to-back terms.
I'll second that.
All right, now there's council discussion for that. I'd like to make a statement. I think I know the direction that this is going in. I strongly believe, Mr. Olson stated that he's been advocating for direct election of a mayor for quite some time. I've also had that same sense. There were discussions about that going around, and for whatever reason, it wasn't being brought forward. But I believe that because we're talking about making this change now, it would be appropriate to give the voters an opportunity to select the mayor. And because of that, and having a sense of where we're going to go with tonight, as I can read the tea leaves so far, I am going to form a committee to put this matter, collect signatures, and put this matter before the voters. And that's what I intend to do, because I think that what's being done today, presenting this ordinance to change the method of selecting the mayor, gives us an opportunity right now to return this matter to the voters. And that's what I intend to do. So with that, is there any further council discussion on this motion?
I'll sign the petition when you bring it forward.
Excellent, excellent. I think we'll have more than a few signatures for that. Any further discussion on the motion, on the ordinance? All right, let's call the question.
Start voting. Motion passes.
All right, so that having been done, we're at item now. The city manager's report is number 9. Wait a minute, we were going to go to the public comment on the closed, on the consent calendar, on the closed calendar. So are there any speakers on the closed session?
Yes, Mayor. We have Guy Young.
Good evening, Mayor Loa and Mayor Pro Tem Bettencourt and City Council members. I stand before you tonight in support of Palmdale City Manager Rhonda Perez. As the former chair of the Human Rights Advisory Committee, I have known Rhonda since 2021. And during her tenure, she's been an amazing city leader, making a monumental positive impact on the city and community, while also helping turn a page on a dark chapter in the city's history and helping bring the city into the sunlight of a brighter tomorrow. Rhonda is a true community and human rights advocate, going above and beyond the call of duty to make an impact on the community. From walking in the Antelope Valley Pride Walk to spending her own hard-earned dollars to support families and youth who are needing help during the holiday season. Rhonda is a one-of-a-kind city manager, making herself available to the community 24/7, 365 days a year. I could go on and on singing the praise for Rhonda Perez, just like so many other community members already have. With that being said, it would be a definite travesty should the Palmdale City Council choose to terminate Rhonda Perez's employment with the City of Palmdale. Please don't let politics and personal issues get in the way of making the right decision and keeping Rhonda Perez as city manager for the City of Palmdale. I truly hate to say it, yet it is my fervent belief that should you terminate Rhonda Perez's employment, you will have more than likely put your own chances of reelection at stake and maybe also jeopardized your political careers. As citizens and taxpayers of Palmdale will not soon forget your actions. Sorry. Remember, great city managers often are far and few between. And what the great saying says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And definitely, we need to keep Rhonda because she's done a great things for the city and for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Harris.
Good evening, council.
Good evening.
Sorry I missed a few meetings dealing with the fires in Los Angeles, but I'm here tonight to talk on behalf of Rhonda. Things happen. I don't know the facts. You know the facts. You'll go in a closed-door session where I've been before, and you'll deliberate. And it sounds like, from what I heard, there was a deliberation for a couple of hours already, which is meanings we're not there to make a decision. And we all make mistakes. Sometimes when we're collaborating in different environments, we make mistakes. I would ask that you search yourself as you continue to deliberate and look at both parties involved, because there's always two parties, and find forgiveness, because 3 years ago, this city was upside down. And through each one of your mayoralships and your leadership, through Rhonda, you've turned things around. She is committed. She's got a great team. Her team supports her. Again, we make mistakes. If it was me, I would search with the city attorney every single avenue of every policy and procedure on what ramifications could happen, that could happen. And I would seriously look at the maximum, but I would keep her city manager. I've worked with a lot of cities, and she's doing an amazing job. And I think in the next 3 to 5 years, the things that she's put in place with her team, it's only going to continue. I also, on another note, it was 1986 and 87 when Santa Clarita became a city. I was living there then. And Palmdale has the ability to get it there, and I think Rhonda can get it there. I stood here when she was sitting there back in the day when she was the interim. And I supported her then, and I support her now. And I do not want to sit in your chair tonight. I know you've got a heavy burden, but I hope you can find forgiveness and really search your policies with the attorney and see if there's any way we can salvage our city manager. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
No more speaker cards on this item.
Anyone else wishing to speak? All right. Are you guys doing it together?
We're doing it together.
We're a pair.
Yes, we're a pair. We're speaking on happiness tonight.
Yes.
Kathy and I, I'm Debbie Dino, Kathy McLaren. We're here on the Antelope Valley Fair. And I wanted to let you know that April 30th is our auction, and that's when our kids shine. That's also where you're going to see your next year's bit of meat coming back to Safes. I would like to invite all of you to attend the auction. I can't say enough about these kids. They are the cream of the crop in this valley. Just to let you know, 10 hogs are being raised at Palmdale High School right now.
Okay.
Kathy?
The second year after 15 years of not having that. And so we're very happy that you guys are part of our fair team now. The Palmdale's got a seat and you're on one of those boards, and we're very thankful because we really do want the best for our whole city together, and that's how we do our best work. But these kids, if you've never been to the auction, the skills and everything they learn by raising them and how to balance their books and everything goes such a long way. And the fact that we can do it at Palmdale High, where those kids don't have that in their backyard, we're giving those inner city kids a chance to experience some of this that only farm kids and stuff get. So we're really excited about that. We hope to see you all there. I know you've been a belle before. Have you been a belle? And if you don't know about it, you should be a belle.
You should be a belle. Yes, you should.
Right.
Yes.
And we have Ranch and Romeo's for the men.
Yes.
So everyone can be a part of it.
We have Animal
Yes.
House also.
Well, I thank you for the gracious invitation, but it's still public comment on the items on the closed session.
Okay.
We
So,
closed it. Thank you.
all right,
So thank you.
all right. Thank you. Next speaker on the closed session. Do you wish to speak on the closed session? Okay.
I didn't put in a card.
Yeah, just state your name.
Okay, once again, Carol Ross. I'm not up here to ask you whether to let Rhonda remain or not let Rhonda remain. The only thing I'm asking is that during your deliberations, that you would consider the well-being of the city and nothing else. It has to come down to the people and the city, nobody else's agendas, nothing else. It's time that that's the way things are done here. If you do decide to remove Rhonda as city manager, I implore you, please, to thoroughly vet anyone you consider to fill the position after a thorough nationwide search, as we the people asked for after the departure of JJ. I feel like, again, I'm not speaking for her or against her. I don't know the job she's doing, so I'm not here for that. But I am saying, please think of the city. There have been too many mistakes that have been made in the past, that then there's just a huge mess to clean up. And we keep hearing how our tax dollars are going to all different types of lawsuits that are unnecessary. And I think that we need to make better decisions. And you know what? If we have to take a hit as a city once to set a precedence that we're going to do the right thing whether we get sued or not, then so be it. We have got to keep the best interest of this city. I feel like so much we're doing so much cleanup just with city council and some of the staff, that when our other issues that we the people are bringing forward, when are we getting to those? We're not. We're spending so much time on cleaning up our house, and that's just got to stop. What a waste. What a waste. Thank you.
All right, anyone else speaking on the closed session? Okay, then at this point, we can go ahead and go to item 10, which is a non-agenda public comments. Number 10, anyone wishing to speak on items not listed on the agenda? Each speaker is allotted, we're back to 2 minutes at this point. Non-agenda items.
Yeah, boy, this is tough because I've had numerous conversations with most of you up there, and I like to think that we have a good relationship, generally speaking. And I have said to each and every one of you that when you do the wrong things, we will call you to account. And when you do the right things, we will sing your praises. But it pains me to witness what I did a little while ago here. Mr. Bishop, I don't care how you try to explain your position, there's nothing that justifies taking away the people's voice.
Mr. Gallego, please
Gotcha.
direct your comments to me. I appreciate that.
Mr. Olson, I know you said you don't have any intention of removing Mayor Loa, but it's been my experience that you don't buy a cow if you don't want the milk. There's no reason for doing this. Maybe I'm being a little pessimistic, but I don't see any reason for doing this if that isn't what's ultimately in the plans. And last, in that discussion, I heard a lot of concern for what's equitable for the council members. I heard very, very little about what's fair to the people that you represent. You know, individually, I talk to you guys, and you're all decent people, and we have good conversations, and you seem to get it. Then you go up there and sit in your chairs, and you forget how this is supposed to work. It's disgraceful. Pick up a copy of the Constitution and read it, for God's sake. I'm embarrassed by you guys tonight. I really am.
Next speaker.
I will reiterate again, I respected that ping pong ball, and we tolerated it. We respected you. And Austin, you were a mayor for a year, and I stood by you.
Mr. Gavargas, your comments here, please.
Yes, sir. I apologize, but, and I'm a very loyal friend. When Tony Castro was running against Austin, I went against all my team there, and he lost by 60 votes. I could have gotten 260 votes. Tony Castro would be sitting there instead of Austin Bishop. I'm a very loyal friend, and I've been loyal to this body, and I'm very loyal to the city of Palmdale. But ganging up right now, it's giving me the feeling that somebody's ganging up on Mayor Loa, and I don't like that. And trust me, if you want us to change the referendums, change the bylaws, that's fine. Wait till the end of his term. 30 days before his term is up, okay, introduce all kinds of referendums and do it with the next one. But anything else you do, it's going to give the feeling to all of us that you're ganging up on a man. And I don't appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, next speaker.
Good evening. I am here in honor of Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. My name is Sandy Chavez. I'm a graduate student of social work at USC, and I've worked in mental health and social work in Palmdale for 13 years. I come to you today in search of advocacy for our children in foster care in the Antelope Valley. According to the Administration for Children and Families, the 2024 final report for California, there is an increase in maltreatment in foster care. And it's becoming progressively worse from 2021 to 2024. And this falls against the ACF's #1 safety outcome goal, which is that children are first and foremost protected from abuse and neglect. The Resource Family Approval Program is a California process for individuals and families to become foster parents. This was implemented in 2017 as an attempt to simplify and standardize caregiver criteria, which seems counterintuitive to the measurement of child safety. For example, applicants with criminal history are not disqualified, but are required to submit character references from friends and family. Applicants are required to complete only 40 hours of caregiver training, 12 hours annually, and caregiver training is not required for healthcare professionals. And I believe that this simplified criterion is insufficient scrutiny of prospective caregivers. I propose a system that cleans up negligence by weeding out deceitful individuals, thereby recruiting altruist applicants to rigidly regulate the approval process. And so, City Council members and Mayor, with your influence on state policies, lobbying efforts, and working collaboratively with state representatives, I ask for your advocacy in this matter as beginning steps toward a process that prioritizes child safety in foster care. Thank you.
Mr. Lowe, if I can just interject, I know this is not traditional order of things, but at the beginning of the meeting, we recognized our monthly observances for the month of April. Our public commenter just mentioned Child Mental Health Awareness Month. It was not incorporated into our April 2025 monthly observances, so I'd like to recommend that we as a council move, whether it's after this section of our agenda, but at some point in the course of tonight's proceedings, that we move to adopt or incorporate the Child Mental Health Awareness Month into our monthly observances for April 2025.
The April observances, okay?
Thank you.
All
Thank you
right,
for your
everybody
comments and
okay?
your work.
All right. Next speaker, please. And thank you, ma'am, for bringing that forward. Yes, Marcia.
I'm going to step back here just real quick. It's been a very long time, but the little clock here is not on, the countdown clock. Why is there not a countdown clock here at the desk for me to look at? It's been a while, I know, but
Is there any,
it's not there working. Hi, tech guy.
well, Marcia, you could take advantage of it.
Well, that's
and
true.
do a filibuster.
But I try to follow the letter of the agenda.
And you always do. And by the way,
Yes.
I want to congratulate you.
It's my turn to speak. You sit quietly, please. On a lighter note, the street sweepers. My little sign about the street sweepers has been up for a very long time. When are we going to implement the get your car off the street rule, so that I can get my street swept in front of my house? How long is it going to take? I know originally they said the whole city had to be posted, but gosh, what are you using, a staple gun or something? My God. Anyway, I would like to see us get it going, get the streets off, and get my street swept. Speaking of Saturday that you were going to speak of, I attended a Boots on the Ground in our own Poncelon Square on Saturday. It was a wonderful event. It was actually the last day of something for the Vietnam veterans. It was like a 50-year something for Vietnam veterans, and this was the last day. Not that we should never forget or honor all our veterans, but this was a very moving ceremony. Was the support, I tell you, those volunteers and the stuff, and oh my God, that they get. And our mayor, ceremonial, spoke very well. You did speak very well about the veterans and the importance of all those that are in the military. And that, whatever he is, a senator or whatever, that white side.
He's a congressman.
Congressman. Holy crap, he was with us the whole day. He did the Poncelon Square, and then we went to the Elks for a free steak, big old steak, dinner, and they were there also. I mean, that's a whole day. So I always kind of wondered, of course, we know where his loyalty is, but this other guy, he's got a big area to cover, and he was with us. So either we're doing something right or somebody out there was doing nothing, and we were the only ones. But I mean, I think that's very flattering that the people that step up for the veterans in the Antelope Valley were enough that this elected official chose to spend his day with us. So there we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Next speaker.
And Marcia, I hope you know that if I could have been there, I would have been there.
I know you would.
Yeah, she would have been. We know that. We know your support of
Did
veterans.
you sign up for the breast walk in October? Look on your emails. You should be.
Thank you, Marcia. All right, ma'am. Come forward, please.
God bless you, everyone.
Thank you.
My name is Leola Fussell. I'm an evangelist. And God has laid upon my heart to do a Bible reading marathon in the city. I submitted requests here. I moved to the Valley back in 1994 and left here in 2006 to help a family member. I've been in ministry since 1971. And God led me to give clothing out and food and whatever to people that were in need and provide temporary housing at my expense. I've never collected an offering, never asked for anything. It's out of my work when I was working, my salary, and now out of my retirement monies. And I'm inviting everyone to come out and help me. We can all come together April 22nd through May 1st to do a Bible reading marathon to the public. We're not trying to push religion. We're not trying to push politics or any of that. It's praying for our country, our people, our circumstances, coming together to pray. And then also, in addition to reading the Bible, the prayer is National Prayer Day, which is May 1st. So the event will be going from the 22nd of April until we'll have a small 1 hour to 2 hour, however, how many people come up to share on the 22nd of April. And then we will have, on May 1st, we'll stop for 1 to 2 hours just to pray, just to pray. That's what we need. That's what we need, God's word going forth and sharing, not trying to pull anyone into anything except getting the word of God out and then praying, which is what we need in our society here today, to pray for other people. I don't know how many people are going to be there. It's open to the public. I'm putting out my little flyers and I'm trying, saying please come. So
Thank you,
you're invited. Thank you so
for the
much.
invitation.
Hopefully you'll come
Appreciate
there.
that.
Can you make sure the city clerk gets a copy of your flyer?
Yes, thank you.
That way she can share it with us.
Good point, Ms. Bitcourt. Next speaker?
We have George Ventura.
Good evening.
How you doing?
So I came here just to say thank you. Thank you for the city of Palmdale for the support we had this weekend. We had our 4th annual Cesar Chavez Day. And I want to thank Rhonda, city manager, and her staff for all the support, Parks and Recs, everybody that, supported us, and for you guys attending there. When I walked in here today, somebody suggested that we're getting rich and we're making money off Cesar Chavez Day. And I go, no, we're not making any money off of that. That's for us to give back to the community. I said, how do I make money? He said, by all the tacos you sell. I don't sell any tacos, first of all, okay? We do have some food vendors there. We have 4 taco trucks, and we charge them $100 to be there. Whatever they sell, it's their money, okay?
And you're referring to the Cesar Chavez
And,
event?
yeah, this was the
Sunday.
Cesar Chavez Day event, yeah. The $400 that we made off the food trucks, we pay the $484 to the health department for the permit. We pay $400 for the fire department permit. We pay for other permits, insurance, and things like that. Half of the vendors that were there, it's free. We don't charge them to be there. Some we do charge. And that helps, pay for all the permits, the website, and everything. So it's not a money maker for us. It's a way of us giving back to our community. For the last 4 years, we have the Palmdale School District get involved. And we have some of their students write essays about Cesar Chavez. Marco and I did a walk 3 years ago, and we found out that 80% of the people there, they had no idea who Cesar Chavez was. Some of the kids suggested he's a rapper. Somebody said that, he's a boxer and things like that. So they had no idea who Cesar Chavez was, right? So we get the students involved. They write an essay. The Palmdale School District take all those essays back to the Palmdale City Library. The library chooses the best 3, and then we bring them here and we give them scholarships to the students. This year we had 4 students won, so we're going to have 4 scholarships. Even the Lancaster School District got involved this year. Okay, so it's not a money maker thing for us. It's a way of us giving back to our community. And I just want to, thank the city of Palmdale for being involved, for being one of the sponsors, and allowing us, to be there. And thank you, Mayor, for spending a few hours there. It was raining in the morning, it was windy, and it was really cold. Thank you, Ms. Alarcon, for being there. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ventura. Any other speakers? Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Mr. Hernandez.
First of all, I'd like to thank Eric for his remarks regarding the direct election of the mayor. I really appreciate what you said. Second of all, I'd like to thank the captain of the sheriffs and the sheriff's department, because my apartment complex, the Longhorn Pavilion, has been the victim of very violent crimes. It even came out on Channel 7 News of these thugs who stole the car. And luckily, the sheriff's department caught these people, but this apartment house is being constantly under threat by these thugs who live within those complex. And even the smoke shop at 25th and S, and you've seen it on Sierra, 25th S and Avenue S, the smoke shop is full of about 20 thugs. You can't even drive there to go to the 7-Eleven. So I urged the sheriff's department to continue sending patrol down there so that the criminals don't take over our building in our corner. Secondly, I'd like to just point out that Mr. Loa always speaks about how he's so frustrated at the homeless committee that we're not getting enough money, et cetera. And I'd like to say that every single committee that you're on, Loa, you get a little stipend, you know, and you get a stipend for being on ABTA, yet you don't advocate for more bus benches, more bus shelters so people don't have to be in the sun or the wind or the cold. And, you know, this adds to your little collection of money in addition to your legal fees. So I think that there should be a homeless committee established by you to determine how the funds that are coming into the city for the homeless are distributed, not just left up to your opinion. Thank you very much.
Very good. Next speaker.
Sandy Chavez.
Is that person here?
Sandy Chavez.
Okay, next speaker.
I have a gentleman by the name of Johnny. Johnny.
Hello.
Hello.
I just have two point of views that I want to go ahead and bring to the table to you guys, so you guys can go ahead and modify it or think a little bit more about. One of them is the ordinance that the city of Palmdale has for loud music, which is under 9.18.010, which is noise. It doesn't specify a specific time for the music that the people have on their own house, from what time to what time it is. And right now, that's going out of control on the east side of Palmdale. You know, they make a party, start at 5 p.m. till the morning, under 5 a.m. There is neighbors that they do call the sheriff. Thankfully, they actually show up for that. And they're basically, hands are tied on that because they don't have a specific ordinance that is say, you cannot make noise after this time. It's open basically just on decibel volume, I guess. There is no specific time for them to say, hey, it has to be over, or you gotta bring it down, or you gotta shut it down. So that's one. And the other one is concerning dumping. Dumping is going out of control within the city of Palmdale, not just within the city, but on the outskirts of the city, like, you know, the east side of Palmdale and all of that. I know this AB since the 70s. I've been micro-investing on land and all of that over years. And there is a lot of parcels out there that basically people buy because they think it's industrial, M1 zoning or M2 or heavy industrial zoning. And they start dumping the material that they get from the constructions, concrete and all of that, and they just dump it in there. And over years, it accumulates like a quarry, just because they're trying to avoid to pay for those recycling fees that basically they do charge to recycle that. I have done it myself, but they want to avoid that. So I have a few pages for you guys who cared about this. I'm going to go ahead and leave it with the gentleman over here for you guys to see the parcels that are full of that.
Very good. Yes.
And basically that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead and hand those out.
Mayor
Next
and
speaker.
council, there are no more speaker cards on this section.
Very good. On the closed session item, we did receive an email from Jody Kyman, essentially in support of Rhonda Perez in general, and we also received one from Laurel Forrest. And in it, she states that the only appropriate action is for the city council to immediately terminate both Ms. Rhonda Perez and Mr. William Thurs and his law firm for cause, and it goes on from there. So those two items will be made part of the record for today. Okay. Very good. Let's see, where are we now? Council reports, announcements, and requests for future agenda items. We'll start with Ms. Alarcon, if you're ready. Okay.
Can I
no
say
problem.
something, sir, before the sir leaves? I just want you to hear what I'm saying out loud to everybody, not you specific. The reason that we don't have a time for the loud noises is because disturbing the peace is unacceptable any time of the day. If it rises to the level where it's a nuisance, call us, call the sheriff's department. It will be dealt with no matter the time of day.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Olson. So let's start with Mr. Bishop. Council reports, announcements, and requests for future agenda items.
I submitted my report, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Mr. Olson?
My report has been submitted. I would like to reiterate my desire to bring back a study or feasibility or analysis on the pathway to bringing back a directly elected mayor outside of a voter-initiated ballot measure.
Ms. Bettencourt?
I've submitted my report to make it part of the record, and mine was a little light because I was on vacation. I went to Western North Carolina. I have friends there, and they are still suffering huge amounts of damage from the hurricane. It was absolutely shocking. So I spent a lot of time there, and now I'm back, so I can get back in the swing of things. So thank you.
Ms. Alcon?
Thank you. So a couple of things. I did submit my report, but one, with regard to the newly implemented tax, I'd like to see if we could get a report back from our city attorney or legal counsel with regard to whether or not it's appropriate or legal to bring forth an ordinance to defer the implementation or the collection of that tax. I believe that we adopted an ordinance to defer a portion of it. I would like to see if we could bring back an ordinance to defer all of it to 2028. I know that that's been done in other jurisdictions, so I'd like to see if we could do that. I don't think now is the appropriate time to implement a tax increase. So if we could get that as a report back, I'd appreciate it. Second, with regard to harassment training, the City of Palmdale's employees, its commissioners, and our council all were required to undergo harassment training, which included sexual harassment and all, various other types of harassment. That was facilitated by somebody, by our former, or I don't know exactly what his title would be, former city attorney. And so I'd like to see if we could bring back an item to identify a new facilitator to re-implement that training to our entire city, including this council at some point in the future. I just want to make a general comment about what we are going into closed session to discuss. There's been a lot of chatter online about what is going on here, and it's a lot. This weighs very heavily on me. I can only speak for myself, but I just wanted to clarify two points. One, there's been some suggestion that and because of conferences and whatever, that these allegations are being made. I'm not going to, confirm or deny any of that, but there's been some chatter that they pertain to me. I want to be clear that nothing, that I'm not implicated in any of what's being discussed in closed session. And so any thought that there were any acts of impropriety that pertain to me, I just want to make sure that we're clear that none of that is being considered. Two, it's also been suggested that because our city manager may have not taken the most favorable position when I, obviously I made a mistake, and at that juncture there was some friction on this council. There's been suggestion that whatever action I'm taking with regard to what's happening in closed session is because I have a vendetta against either the city attorney or against the city manager, or that I'm doing something in spite of what happened. I just want to be clear. That is absolutely not the case. I know what it's like to be on the other end, on the receiving end of the scrutiny. And I know what it does to you personally. I know what it does to your family. Members of my family have also been the subject of that kind of scrutiny. I know what it does. I do not take it lightly at all. And it pains me to be in a position where I have to judge. But I also take very, very seriously this role as a council member, and I have a fiduciary responsibility to the city of Palmdale and to the taxpayers to make sure that we are protecting our city fisc. And so I just want to make sure that everybody understands this is nothing political, this is nothing personal. This is about doing what's best for our city. And I think, I know I can speak for our council that they echo those sentiments. This is a tough situation that we're in, but I think we're all walking into this with the right mindset and putting our, the people of Palmdale first. Thank you.
Good. Did you have an informational report to add?
I said,
That's the very first.
I said I filed.
You filed a report, okay. So with me, I just want to comment on a couple of items, and that is, we did go, Councilwoman Alarcon and myself, to the National League of Cities Conference, and the primary point that we advocated for there with Congressman Whiteside, with the office of Congressman Fong and the office of Congressman Obernolte, and with the administration itself, was to preserve the $23.5 million that Congressman Garcia was able to have as an earmark for the development, the acquisition of property and so on, for a grade separation at Rancho Vista and Sierra Highway, which has been an item that has been long in coming because, as you all know, that intersection gets backed up tremendously during a shift change, and it's worsened when there's trains going by there, which is they often take several minutes, and it backs up traffic in all directions. We stressed to the congressional staff and to Congressman Whiteside that this is actually an issue affecting national defense, and it's a priority item. And we also expressed the same thing with the representatives from the administration. On March 14th, I attended the Executive Committee on Regional Homeless Alignment, which is a homeless commission that I sit on. I do not receive any stipend from that. We made some recommendations to the Board of Supervisors because they were going to be adopting the budget on the disbursement of Measure A, which is a 50-cent sales tax that was imposed on all the residents of the County of Los Angeles, which is going to raise many billions of dollars, which replaced Measure H, which in turn had raised billions of dollars, and during which time of the existence of Measure H, which was back in the 20-teens, the homeless population actually increased, despite the fact that billions of dollars were thrown at the problem. And so we were urging representatives from various COGs and cities across the County of Los Angeles on March 25th that it take into consideration that the cities and the different cities across the County of Los Angeles are sending enormous amounts of money to downtown Los Angeles with a very tiny return to us. And that is particularly acute in Lancaster and Palmdale. We have a homeless population that's difficult to count because of the large areas of desert where lots of people go out and are homeless out there in the desert, which is extremely difficult in the climate that we have here, giving the freezing temperatures that we have during the winter and the awful heat that we have in the summertime. And because of that, we do, in fact, need special consideration for that in light of the fact that we send many millions of dollars every single year down to Los Angeles, previously with Measure H, now with Measure A. I did attend on Saturday the AV BOGA, the Welcome Home, that's BOGA is boots on the ground, the Welcome Home Vietnam veterans. The Vietnam veterans came, they were given a double-decker bus ride around central Palmdale. There were 96 of them that boarded the bus. There was Positlan Square rarely looks as fine as it did that day in recognition of the Vietnam veterans. This period that Marcia was alluding to is the fact that the Vietnam War ended 50 years ago, and which, of course, took many, many people from all of us. And we must honor our veterans, which we are doing in the city of Palmdale. I did attend with City Councilwoman Alarcon, Cesar Chavez Day at Dominic Masari Park. It was a nice event. Thank you again to Venturas for putting that on. And the grandson, Cesar Chavez's grandson, was the principal speaker, and he gave a fine presentation. There were folkloric dancers that came from the schools, and they made some beautiful presentations there in their folkloric dances and everything. It was just really a wonderful event, so that's my report.
May I add one last thing? You just
Yes.
reminded me.
Please do.
During the Cesar Chavez holiday event, Andres Chavez, the grandson of Cesar Chavez, and I were speaking. He represents the Cesar Chavez Foundation, and he was sharing with me that the work that they're focused on is in housing. And so I extended the opportunity to maybe potentially open up the conversation and work with their foundation to see if maybe we can identify a way that we can partner. So if our city manager and staff and our housing team, you guys gave a presentation today, thank you. But if maybe at some point you guys can connect with the Cesar Chavez Foundation to see if there's any way that we can work in partnership, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Very good. With that, then we go to presentation by the city attorney.
Good evening, City Council. So tonight we have two items, 12.1 and 12.2 for closed session. Per the Brown Act, I'd like to indicate for item 12.2, notice was mailed pursuant to the Brown Act to Ms. Perez regarding her right to an open session, and she said closed session. So with that, we can adjourn to closed session when you're ready.
We'll go there now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as to the closed session for item 12.1, is that what it's called? 12.1, the council directs city manager pro tem to direct HR to gather evidence and report back to council regarding the city attorney. Council also appointed Alex Halfman, myself, to acting city attorney. Woo! Very excited about that one.
Wait a minute, would you repeat the directive to this?
Oh, yeah, to, regarding council directs city manager pro tem to direct HR, human resources, to gather evidence and report back to council regarding the city attorney.
Okay.
And then we appointed me, and then as to item 12.2, there was no reportable action.
Okay, very good. So item 14 is we shall adjourn the meeting to April 15, 2025, 5 p.m., City Hall, council chambers located right here. So, meeting adjourned.